Well, one thing was clear about the election. We know who the losers are. The pollsters and the media, the cannibal twins who feed off each other's manufactured delusions and make a neat profit off them. It works like this. For nearly half a decade, the media labels a candidate and, by extension, his supporters as racist. That silences those voters, so the polls reflect a false picture. I mean, why would you tell the truth to strangers if that truth is deemed socially unacceptable? Meanwhile, riots ensue as another consequence of that smear, as though America deserves it under Trump. Yet even though they stuck the evil white man tag on Trump, his popularity leapt in this election among Latinos, black men, and black women. Again, if Trump's racist, man, he sucks at it. He's no Joy Reid.
If somehow they manage to stumble into the Supreme Court, do any of you guys trust Uncle Clarence and Amy Coney Barrett and those guys to actually follow the letter of the law? No.
Wow. So there was that. Well, it should piss you off. Trump is racist was the tentpole hoax where every other hateful smear found its shade. Imagine how many more blacks, Latinos, and yes, whites would have voted for Trump if an honest media had took an axe to that poll, which is why they didn't. Speaking of polls, you wonder why no one trusts this outcome, including Trump? When you keep being lied to, how can you trust anyone? No wonder pollsters never ask if you trust polls. How can you go to bed seeing one result and wake up to a new one that saves the day for the media's choice and not be a little suspicious? So don't blame Trump. Blame the media pollster industrial complex. I'd compare them to snake oil salesmen, but that's unkind to snakes and salesmen because whatever the media's pollsters are selling, nobody's going to buy it ever again. I said that, by the way, in 2016, Jesse, so I was wrong then. If people in normal jobs were as wrong as the media and pollsters, they would be out of a job, Jesse.
Yeah, but I think you're going to go in 4 more years, you're going to get cooked polls. There's no accountability in that industry.
Yes.
They've been wrong a lot, and they never changed their internal sampling. They were even more wrong in 2020 than they were in 2020 because, trust me, when you have a poll designed to depress Trump supporters because you put a sample of 49% Democrats into that poll, the president's never going to do well in a poll that's half sampled with Democrats. So that's designed to think, you know, you're in Wisconsin and you see a poll, and ABC News, Washington Post, there I said it, had Donald Trump losing by 17 points. So you say to yourself, why do I even need to vote? I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. And it's sad, and it's not just the polling industry, it's the media industry at large. This was going to be a landslide victory. What is it, a 9 or 10% national election? No, it was 2 to 3%. So, again, they got the last 2 elections wrong. They got coronavirus wrong, the Russia hoax, and then they covered up for the big guy right at the home stretch. You don't know what kind of damage that did, but we'll never find out.
Dana, if pollsters are putting their thumb on the scale, are they doing it by accident, that they don't even know they're doing it?
I look forward to the autopsy of that
You're a sick woman.
No,
we have to kill them first.
You know, I like data. I like to look at the science, like the social science that we have. Does it need to be revisited? Perhaps. I mean, do they have 49% Democrats because there's that many Democrats in the district? I don't know. I think it has a lot of improvement to do, but I also think that everybody keep in mind, look at the average. Don't just take one poll. Like, look at the average. And if you look at Tom Bevan, he runs Real Clear Politics. For example, Pennsilvania, they had it 1 point up for Biden at the end. The night before.
But
so
the only reason that came in was because of the last week you put in Insider Advantage, you put in Susquehanna, and you put in Trafalgar, and that really narrows the gap.
Well, again, that's why I try to look at the average, and I don't think that this outcome is that entirely unbelievable at this point. But I do think also the other thing about the media is there was this rumor that disinformation was the reason that President Trump was winning in Miami-Dade County, not the fact that he had actually worked his tail off, and yet you had Latinos for Trump and Cubans for Trump who were down there. And even Al Sharpton said that Cuban Americans are susceptible to propaganda about socialism. Well, why do you think that might be? Because they fled socialism.
Yeah, and New York was susceptible to Tawana Brawley propaganda. Juan, what do you make of the fact of the shy voter syndrome? Is there any way pollsters can figure that out?
Well, sure. I mean, look, I don't think that there were necessarily so many shy. I think you had people who weren't necessarily part of the voter pool before who might have come out. I think he might have drawn out some new people. We set a record in terms of voter turnout yesterday Well, that's for Republicans and Democrats. It was amazing how many people voted yesterday. It's good news. But look, to your point, I think obviously there was no blue wave, and you saw some of the pollsters saying that that was going to be a possibility. It didn't happen. But, you know, in general, I have to agree with Dana Perino. I think that if you look at 2018, they were on target in saying there was going to be a blue wave, and there was a blue wave in 2018.
There always is in that.
Well, not in every time, but I just want to say, you know, I also think, how come you guys aren't talking about, like, the people I talked to, the people on the House Republican side, they thought House Republicans were going to have a bad night. Senate, you know.
That's the next block.
But I know, but I'm just saying, you listen to President Trump. He said, we're going to win the House. We're going to win the Senate. We're going to win. He was predicting that. It didn't happen.
Well, I think they kept the Senate, didn't they?
No, he was predicting they would keep
Martha,
the House.
last word, Martha.
I'm talking about the Senate.
You know, I think that Michael Moore is probably the best pollster around.
I agree.
Because Michael Moore said, look, take the number, cut it in half.
Absolutely
and then maybe go down another point. He has had a pretty good read on the way things are going. And the other thing that we see in this is that when you look at the popular vote, look at how very, very close this is. It's time for both sides to wake up and realize the reality of the other side. And that there's, you know, half of America very supportive of President Trump, very supportive of his policies for a number of reasons. And I think that the media and the pollsters need to wake up and figure out a way to reach these people. No one is going to pay any attention to them the next time around. They need to completely regroup.
You're right. Or just hire Michael Moore as your pollster, because he's never been wrong.